What's going on, guys? Dropaduski here. Today we're going to go over the Star Pact Meteor Wizard for the 4-man meta for Season 13. Now this Star Pact Wizard is super fun to play, and it does tons and tons of damage. As you can see in the background, you can basically one-shot packs, especially in speed farming scenarios where we're doing a 99 in this playthrough. And as it increases in power, I mean, we've got people in all of the regions already in the 130 zones this early in the season with not the best gear or full augments. So this build can push really high, and once you master it, it's really fun and satisfying to play, as when you see packs just instantly melt, it's just such a good feeling. So there are some issues with it in the beginning. It is fairly tricky to play and to get those meteors to land perfectly. So in this guide I will do a demonstration for you to kind of show what I've had the best luck with. And of course, if you guys have suggestions or other things out, or other information out there that some of you guys that have played this before that could help, make sure to throw some comments below, because I'm still learning this, but I wanted to get this out as it's the most asked question in the stream for this season for sure. So let's jump over to the gear and start taking a look at everything. This does utilize the 6-piece Firebird set. Just like any of the other standard Meteor sets, you're going to prioritize Meteor damage where you can get it. So Meteor on boots and Meteor on helm. Now since I'm on helm, I'm going to tell you the perfect helm would not have a socket in it. So if you got an ancient helm with crit, Meteor, int, and vite, the vitality on an ancient item, which can roll all the way up to 1,000, is actually more health than a purple gem. So a perfect helm would be int, vite, crit, meteor. So if you get one of those, don't roll the vite off and put a socket in there. I have made that mistake in the past, and a lot of people don't know that. If you can't get something like that, like this, I couldn't roll that way, then go ahead and use the purple gem there in the helm. But that's what the perfect helm will look like for you. So we have the 6-piece Meteor set. The other thing to take note of with this is you always want area damage wherever you can get it. This build does not rely on cooldown or anything else besides Meteor and area. So you're going to want area on your gloves, on your shoulders, on your weapon, on your offhand, on both of your rings. Every one of those spots should have area and high area damage once you're getting to the end of the season. So prioritize that. I have it on almost every item except for this ring, and I know it's primal and it's an awesome ring, but I would take a non-primal Convention of the Elements with 20 area on it over this one. So keep that in mind when you're looking for gear for this setup. So speaking to the rings, it's Convention of the Elements, Compass Rose, and Traveler's Pledge, and then the Halo of Carini, which is your damage reduction ring. And I have that in the cube because I've rolled this one, but ideally you're going to put the multiplier in the cube. So if you get a terrible conventions, put it in the cube and wear the Halo of Carini, which is the Storm Armor damage reduction ring. And remember to try and get the highest multiplier you can on either one of the rings. So it is very important to have a high multiplier on the Halo of Carini as well, as it can go up to 80% damage reduction from using Storm Armor when it electrocutes an enemy more than 15 yards away. If that's down at 70, you're definitely going to tell running around, because you will have some deaths. So you want that as close to 80 as possible. Other than the jewelry here, we're going to talk about the weapons. It is a Death Wish etched sigil build with like all the other meteors. So your perfect Death Wish would have 10% damage and 24 area on it. This one is pretty good, but I'm going to be trying to replace it as we go. And then the etched sigil, there's a couple of things you need to prioritize here. You need critical hits, grant arcane power, APOC. You're going to need that on your ability as you're starved for this, and you need to get arcane as fast as possible to make this thing actually work. And then, as you can see, I've rolled area here over Meteor. That's the priority. So with this build, area is so important. If you can get an etched sigil and it has critical hits, and then only Meteor, I would take the Meteor and roll it off, you know. Or if I couldn't get Meteor, I would take the other stat and roll it off and put area there. So you want to prioritize area over Meteor, but in a perfect scenario you'd have all of these, but that's like a 1 in a million offhand. So this one that I have here is a very good rolled one, and you're going to probably be ideally looking for something like this. One of my major sources of damage reduction for this build is the Ancient Parthenon Defenders. Now the elemental skill, as you can see, is Arcane. You're going to be looking for something that gives you up to 12, and remember that Ancient Parthenon Defenders will proc from other party members' stuns. So as your monk is using Tsunami, the crippling wave, it's going to be proccing your Ancient Parthenon Defenders and giving you a lot of survivability. This is a very tanky setup. It does feel good. It's not super squish as long as you're next to the members in your party. There are a couple of other things that kind of give you, headaches here and there, but I'll go over them as we go through this. But make sure Ancient Parthenon Defenders with Arcane elemental damage. You also want Arcane on your amulet, the perfect one would be elemental, crit damage, crit chance. In the cube, we have the Grand Vizier, which is the Meteor staff, and that increases the damage of Meteor by 400%. And then for your armor slot, you're going to have the Nilfr's Boast, which increases the damage of Meteor by 600. When it hits three or fewer enemies, its damage is increased by 900%. So as you can see, everything around this is to buff up the Meteor. Now the reason they call this Star Pact, as we jump into the abilities, is you're taking a different rune. On the other solo push variants of the Meteor Wizard, it's Meteor Shower. For this one, it's Star Pact, and it's because of the raw amount of damage you can do with this rune when it synergizes with all of your gear and your passive skills. So we'll go through them quickly. Electrocute Forked Lightning. This is one of your 3 fire abilities that will give you that burning stack from the Firebird set. So critical hits release charged bolts in random directions. I use this Forked Lightning, dealing 44%. Weapon damage is fire. Then there's Arcane Torrent Flame Ward. This is your second fire resource that will be the second portion of the 3 you need to create the 20 stacks. Then there's Meteor Star Pact. Now remember, Meteor Star Pact is not a fire ability, so this is not going to do it. So if you're going out there casting your left and right click and then a Meteor, that won't give you your 20 stacks. You're going to get that from your magic weapon. Now Star Pact, each point of extra arcane power spent increases the impact damage of the Meteor by 20%. So you want this bar to be all the way full when you cast your Meteor. The more arcane power you have here when you cast and dump all of your arcane is going to increase that Meteor's damage by 20%. Wave of Force Arcane Attunement. Now this is really good for increasing the damage output. So when you're moving through the rift, and you'll see this in the playthrough at the end, you get all the mobs set up around you. You Wave of Force, and you'll see on your Wave of Force on your bar down here a number of how many enemies you hit. For every one of them that you hit, you increase the damage of your next arcane spell by 4%. Now I've had that thing all the way up to like 75 stacks. So the Meteor that comes down is hitting for hundreds of trillions when it's on the arcane rotation for your Convention of the Elements. It's crazy. Storm Armor, Scramble. This is my damage reduction, and it couples with the Halo of Carini, increase the movement speed. You can also take, we'll keep Scramble. It's the easiest to keep up. And then Magic Weapon Ignite. This is your third fire ability. This will give the enemies stacks, increasing your damage and also your tankiness from the Firebird 6-piece set. Your passives here, Audacity, you deal 30% additional damage to enemies within 15 yards. Unwavering Will, this is the push rune, so everybody that's doing their 4-man pushes has Unwavering Will. I do also switch out and take early on Prodigy, which when you cast a signature spell, you gain 5 arcane power. So this just helps as I run through to give me more power to get more meteors as I'm running. But you're in a perfect scenario or a normal scenario where you're doing a push and not like a 99 speed farm, you'll take Unwavering Will here. And then there's Arcane Dynamo. Now Arcane Dynamo, when you cast a signature spell, you gain Flash of Insight. After 5 flashes of Insight, your next non-signature spell deals 60% additional damage. So you want to make sure, and you'll see this on your bar, on your buff bar, you'll have the little Flash of Insight indicator. Make sure that that's at 5 when you cast your Meteor. And then Astral Presence, increase your maximum arcane power by 20 and arcane power regeneration by 2.5 per second. So that is going to also increase damage and also give you the ability to actually make this thing work. Now, we know, I'm going to go over how this works now. So we know that the Death Wish, right? The Death Wish, while channeling Arcane Torrent, Disintegrate, or Ray of Frost, all damage is increased by up to 325%. If you're not channeling an ability, then you don't get the damage buff from this weapon. So the problem that people are running into, so if we're Forked Lightning and we do this, then by the time the Meteor comes down, you don't have enough arcane power to actually channel Torrent and get the damage buff from the Death Wish, so your Meteors feel like you're just throwing peanuts out. So what I've been doing, my rotation here, is I make sure, so we'll just do this as we would. We're running into the Griff. I have my Storm Armor up, I have my Ignite up. We run in as a group. So we move as a group, and the difference with this thing is you have to move with your monk because you have no ability to get in. You know, on the Witch Doctor you had Spirit Walk, so you could be outside, Spirit Walk into the middle, and then set up. With this, you can't do that. So your Templar is a perfect example of your monk. This is how you move through the Grift. When you've decided where you're going to stop, you stop, and then they make mobs around you, right? They pull everything in. The Barb and the Monk pulls everything in around you, and you're just in there chilling, you know, getting everything ignited, making sure you have your stacks, and continuously dropping your meteors. So that's how you get everything set up. Now, once you're at the spot where you're going to be setting up, if you're prioritizing elite, if my, you know, Jewel Crafter dude is an elite, I'm going to cast one fire at him, the other fire at him, and now I should have my 20 stacks. You'll see your Firebird stacks here on your bar. It'll be 20, it'll be your little Firebird emblem with 20 stacks on it. And then all you have to do at that point is just, so force standstill is typically by default when you get the game mapped to your shift key. So you see I'm holding my left click and moving. If I hold shift, I stop and I'm immediately casting Forked Lightning. So you're going to use force standstill. This is what I do to make this thing work the best. So we're all set up. I have my stacks. I'm just holding standstill and casting Forked Lightning until I'm ready to cast my Meteor. Now, as you can see on my buff bar above my abilities, I have 5 Arcane Dynamo, or Arcane Insight, and I'm ready to do my Meteor. Now, here's the trick. I never let go of Forked Lightning. I always have it on. I could cast my Meteor, and then I instantly start casting my Arcane Torrent after a split second of casting Forked Lightning again. So as you can see, when I release a Meteor here, look at my arcane power bar over there, everything is gone. And by the time, with just regular generation, the Meteor hits, I will have not enough time to channel. Not enough arcane power to use this ability, right? But if I use Force Standstill, and I'm always casting this, and then I hit Meteor, and then I immediately, you see how just an Arcane Torrent came out right before the Meteor hit? That's enough to proc Death Wish. So that's going to give you that extra up to 325% slam with the Meteor when it comes down. Now, it is a little tricky. You are going to have Meteors that miss, or they don't, you know, or you get the timing wrong, but this build is all about practice, right? So one more time, I'm holding Force Standstill, Meteor, and see, I went wrong there. So let's do it one more time. Meteor, a little bit of lightning, channel. That would have been perfect, right? The Meteor would have hit and the channeling would have been happening and it would have blown everything up. So that is it right there. That is how you do the damage. Now, doing the damage efficiently is a little bit more than that. So the two things that you want to prioritize when you're in a speed run, and that's what I'm going to put at the end of this when we're done talking, is an actual speed run through that you guys can watch. Your number one priority is to make sure that you get a Meteor in during this arcane rotation right now. The pink or purplish element, the arcane element on your convention, the elements. Now, when you're in a push, you want to optimize the way that you do these things. So basically, every time you get to 5 stacks, you drop your Meteor and you blow things up, and then you start doing it again. Immediately drop the Meteor, blow things up, shit up. When you're in a speed farm, a lot of times you're going to do so much damage on the arcane rotation. So say like I'm at fire and I'm about to hit lightning and I don't think I can get one in or get 2 in during arcane, because you can get 2 in during arcane. I'll just wait, right? I'll just chill and wait. and keep getting ready, and then I'll drop here, get that one done, and then get another one up and try and drop that in before the end of Arcane. So if you want to get them both in, you're basically waiting till there's about a quarter left on your timer of the electricity cycle, and you drop it, and then you get another one going right away and drop it, and hopefully it'll land. So maybe even a little less than a quarter of the Arcane rotation. You want to make sure both of those meteors hit during that Arcane rotation, and that's your priority. You're going to do that not only in push, but in speed farms, and outside of that, as long as you're full and you have your 5 stacks of Flash of Insight, and you have you have your 20 stacks from either the Elite, or if you have a big trash pull, you're just going to keep alternating. So if it's all trash, you do this for a second, then this for a second, then this for a second, then Torrent for a second, and you'll watch your Firebird stacks go up. Once they're up to about 15 or so, typically with trash, that's when I'll start dropping meteors again and just blowing up the trash and moving forward. One last thing, gems. So I am using currently Bane of the Trapped, Esoteric, and Zai's Stone of Vengeance. Now, you can take a Mutilation Guard. Mutilation Guard will help you because this is the biggest headache with this build. If you're in a barracks or something like that and you have certain mob types, like Lickers is a perfect example, there's a shitload of them, and they're blocking the doorway. You can't get through the doorway on this build. There's no way to get through. So if your support characters cannot pull them out of the way, then you need to sit there, set up at the doorway, and blow up that trash before you can get through. Now with the Mutilation Guard, occasionally you can switch out and take this. I don't think it's worth it. The way this works is while below 50% life, you move unhindered through enemies. You have to synergize with your supports. So you have to tell your monk, hey, set up 15 feet away from me, and I'm going to sit here and take damage on purpose. And once I drop below 50% and I'm like continuously rolling my my mouse wheel for force move until this gem procs and I hit right below 50%, and then I run through the mobs and try and catch up with my group. It kind of sucks. Sometimes you just got to set up at the door and kill the trash. I've opted out of using this gem now. I just take Zai's. We move the way we need to, and in instances where I get stuck, I get stuck. So you're going to have to work through that kink with your group and line that up as you move through. And typically, I haven't done this in a pug group, so that may be more difficult, but it is very useful, especially in any sort of push attempt, to make sure and just try and use comms and just make sure that your monk stays with you. And if you get stuck, you say, hey, I'm stuck, and they set up, you immediately get some stacks, drop a meteor, you should kill the trash pretty much instantly. There's so much damage. Guys, that's all I have for this. Thank you all so much for checking this out, and everybody, thank you all so much for all the support we've gotten on the stream. The stream has been out of control. We've had way more people than we normally do. Level with a Cause was amazing. It was a great success. We earned so much money. Everybody, thank you guys. If you're new to this channel, don't forget to like and subscribe, and also throw comments below. We're going to be putting up more guides as we go through the season. I'll try and do a couple of the solo pushes for Wizard and also some speed builds. And like I said, if you have more insight or info on this Star Pact Meteor Wiz, let me know. Throw a comment. Throw some comments in there. Give us some feedback from your experiences, and we'll share it with the community so that everybody out there can be, you know, super efficient, super badass Wizard trash clearers in Season 13, guys. Everybody, thank you so much. Don't forget, stop by the Twitch channel anytime. It's twitch.tv/Dropaduski. I'm on Monday through Saturday starting at noon, guys. Everybody, good luck in the grifts, and we'll see you out there. Peace.